Want to hear 25 remote work experts share their amazing strategies and processes for building successful remote work companies and remote team? We've got speakers from leading companies like Thinkific, Evergreen Profits, Dynamite Circle, and Tribe Theory, and more. Register for your free ticket now at www.remotebusinesssummit.com.
That's right, www.remotebusinesssummit.com. We'll see you there, November 18 to 22.
Woohoo! Welcome to Founders Connect podcast. We help lifestyle entrepreneurs to grow their business online and create a happier marriage.
Did you know that approximately 45% of marriages end up in divorce and 65% of all startups fail due to founder conflicts? Well, we're here to change that.
Each week we bring you an inspiring guest and practical tips to help you with business, relationships, and sustainable living. Now let the fun begin! Hi, I'm Cindy Pham.
And I'm Anthony Chansamuth.
And we're from Founders Connect.
Today, I'm going to invite our amazing friend, Brynne Tilman from Social Sales Link, to talk about her journey getting into the world of LinkedIn. And she's going to be one of our summit speakers on the Remote Business Summit. So I just wanted to introduce Brynne. She's known as the LinkedIn Whisperer, which is really cool, and CEO of Social Sales Link. She's been working for over a decade teaching entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and sales teams, business leaders, how to leverage LinkedIn for social selling. So welcome to the show, Brynne.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Now, you don't have an Australian accent, so where are you right now? And where are you normally based?
I'm from Philadelphia, home of Rocky.
Okay, so is that a Philadelphian accent? Because I'm not up with the...
So I'm probably a hybrid. I grew up outside of New York, so I sound a little New York, but I've been here most of my adult life. So I'm sure I've picked up a little bit of the Philly sound.
Okay. I'm hearing a bit of the New York because I have been to New York before. And I mean, it's a whole mix of different accents, but I think I'm getting that from you. Okay. So why don't we just intro your background and how you got into becoming a sales trainer, production, these sort of things. What were you doing before you created Social Sales Link?
You know, I started my career at Dun & Bradstreet in an inbound call center. I was taking, between 100 and 120 calls every single day. And I was right out of college and I was really bored. I mean, it was just like constant. So I started asking questions because I wanted more conversation than being an order taker. And I had a situation that I thought really transcended the way that my career trajectory was going. Because I had a woman on the call and I asked her, what kind of business decision are you making? We were selling business reports. And she said, I just got an amazing order from Macy's and it's going to change my business forever. And I'm really, really excited. I'm a little company and I'm finally going to make it. So I'm looking at this Dun & Bradstreet report and I see they pay little businesses like hers in 6-month increments. So she would not get paid for a really long time, but I couldn't tell her this because she didn't buy that report. So I started to tell her, is it important to make sure you've got some cash flow around this? And she said, yes, absolutely. I said, so I recommend you buy this other report. It's going to give you information that you can use with your bank that could give you a bridge loan. So I learned this, right? Okay, fine. She goes off, does her thing, buys the $25 report. And 3 months later, she sends a letter to the CEO saying that I saved her business. Crazy, right? They pull the recorded call, they listen to the call. And so, I'm 22 years old and I made this crazy impact. And all of a sudden I went, I love this, right? I really love this. So what I recognized was, I could make an impact by asking questions. And I wasn't compensated in sales in any way, but it was about making a difference. Anyway, so I ended up putting together a full sales training program at 22, 23 years old for Dun & Bradstreet for their whole call centers.
Wow.
And so it really changed my world. And I realized very early on that I was a solution seller. So that's really where I got started. I was promoted into a higher level of sales, really made an impact, and then continued my business development career in a couple of different places. But ultimately, wherever I was the sales trainer. They followed along in the field with me. I onboarded sales reps. Even if that wasn't my job, I kind of got there. And then about maybe 9 years ago, I launched a sales training company with a partner and was training LinkedIn along with all other sales training, and realized I only wanted to do this LinkedIn thing. I loved it. So I went to my partner and she said, that's not what we do. We're a sales training company. So really still very good friends, adore her, parted ways. She gave me a hug, said, you're always welcome back. And I launched Social Sales Link about just a little over 6 years ago and haven't looked back.
That's really tremendous. There are a couple of things that you shared there I want to sort of narrow into. One, you mentioned the type of salesperson that you are. What did you call it? A
solution seller.
A solution seller. Okay. So for those who are, listening to this and they're thinking, well, I only know one kind of sales and that's just to sell, right? So can you present with your experience working with different types of sellers? Well, what are the different types of sales person that you can be?
There are many different kinds. So the solution seller, it's really about identifying the gap, identifying the challenge or the problem, and figuring out as a partner with them, how do we solve this problem? And do I have a solution that will get them what they need, get them to where they need to be? You're detaching from the money, you're detaching from the sale, and you're really digging down deep, figuring out what's the pain, what's the solution, how can I help? If I can't help, who can I connect them to that can help? And it's really about getting to the solution of the problem and detaching from how am I going to get paid on this? And ultimately, you're doing better for the client and you end up making more money in the long run anyway.
Yeah, that's really incredible how that works, because I think we can, especially when we're starting out or we're building, a team, your first 5 staff, or you're getting it to your first 10 or whatever it may be. Obviously, revenue is important. You need money to pay for those people. You need to pay for your sales and marketing and all these different elements. And so as the sales person, and usually it starts with the entrepreneur, right? Like it's usually like, well, you need to sell your business and what you're doing. They can get into a high pressure environment, or they create their own pressure in their minds around, oh my gosh, I need to make that next sale. Otherwise I don't get a paycheck. Otherwise I can't grow the team. I can't pay for those tools, right? And so to switch from that desperation energy into what you're talking about, whereas I've heard it described as consultative selling. I think that's another phrase for it. Yeah. Where it's more about the potential customer and really just being there for them, and just like, do I actually have something that I can help you with? And it may not be my product or service. It may be that I have someone in my network that I can introduce you to, or maybe a resource somewhere else that I'm aware of, or a book, it could be different things. Like, I love that because I think when you come from that frame, it just changes the dynamic and the energy with the other person. Like they actually feel, the worst thing is when they feel like they're being sold to, right? We always say we hate the used car salesman or whatever it is. And we don't like being that person either. Like a lot of us just like really resent it. And then we go the other way to the other extreme where we avoid sales completely. And I think right. And so what you do with Social Sales Link, and particularly with LinkedIn sales, is tremendous, because what you're saying is, well, here's an opportunity for you, and just a vast network of opportunity. And that's the way the platform was created. It was, initially, I'm sure you were there at the beginning when it started off as a HR recruitment platform. Right.
Believe it or not, I'm 2008, so I came in late in the game for a lot of folks. But I saw the magic immediately.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so now another thing that came up in your story here is you were working in a sales company with a partner, and then you decided to leave because you felt, okay, the opportunity was with LinkedIn. And, can you just go back to that moment and just describe why you felt so strongly that, this is where you needed to be? Did you feel that was an easy decision to make at the time, or was that a more challenging, like, I'm loving where I am, but I need to follow something within me that says this is probably the better move? Was that a courageous decision for you?
So it was a hard decision. And I had a mentor that I worked with and talked through and did the pros and cons and all that. But what I realized is I was a pretty good sales coach and a pretty good sales trainer. But I was amazing at this LinkedIn piece. And I'm not amazing at anything really, other than I'd like to say parenting and LinkedIn. That's it. I can't balance a checkbook. There are a vast number of things I'm pretty good at. This one area, for whatever reason, not just resonated with me, but like I can see in bright colors, the strategies, the tactics, the ideas. I can quickly see a new feature and think of how we can really leverage this to fill the pipeline or start more sales conversations. And so the real magic that I could bring to salespeople by leveraging this tool was more than I could ever do as a coach or a sales trainer in the traditional overcoming objections and sales conversations. And so I felt, and this is what my mentor at the time said, I felt like, she's like, well, you are doing a disservice to the sales community if you do not bring this to market. And I went, that's an interesting way to look at it. She's like, you have something that no one else is doing, at least not the way I do it. And if you do not bring it to market, then, there are so many people that will miss out on opportunities that they could have had otherwise. And that was sort of this game changer for me when I heard that. And in fact, anyone that's afraid to sell should look at it like that. If you believe in your product and you believe that your product will make somebody's life easy, better, faster, more money, and you don't offer it to them, you're doing a disservice. And that's why solution selling or consultative selling is so powerful, because you are bringing a solution that solves a problem. So if you look at yourself as a problem solver instead of a salesperson, but you get a commission, fine. Then look at it that way.
I love that.
You are listening to the Founders Connect podcast, helping lifestyle entrepreneurs to grow their business online and create a happier marriage. Now back to the show.
And you mentioned you do have, how many kids do you have?
So I have 5 altogether. My husband brought in 2, I brought in 1, and we have 17-year-old twins together.
Amazing. So can we talk a little bit about what it's like building a business and a family? Like, what's that journey been for you? I'd imagine there were some challenges along the way, but maybe just how did you work out how to juggle those 2 different worlds? Because I've heard it described as you're literally growing 2 sets of babies, if you will, and they're always vying for your attention, right, in the early days.
Yeah. So I launched my first business when they were about 6. So they were in maybe 5 or 6, but they were full-time in school. And initially I committed to only working during their school hours. So that worked out really well for a few years, probably for about 1.5 years. And then we had a babysitter come in 2 days a week after school. And then I gradually worked into it. I also I work globally. So I could work, they'd go to bed at 8. I could work from 8 until 10 or 11 at night. One of the beautiful things about having remote businesses, right? And if you have different time zones or people, you can work non-traditional 9-to-5 type business hours. I found the balance not so difficult where a lot of people might have, but that's one of the reasons, like corporate America would have been a lot harder for me to balance and actually launching my own baby, my own business. Because I could call the hours and the shots and I took clients when I could. And if I couldn't, then I'd refer it out or figure it out.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And it is a real benefit of the remote revolution, or, what we're talking about in terms of just an opportunity available to mothers and also stay-at-home dads. And, because one of the challenges we've had, certainly in coming from corporate, I came from corporate, they're not very flexible in terms of the hours. And that's changing. We're actually seeing corporate shift there as well, giving people, I remember when 2003, I was given my first laptop and a mobile phone and said, hey, go work from home. And you got a pager. I remember when we had pagers.
You look too young to have a pager.
But I did. And so that was kind of the beginnings of my first experience into this world of remote working. And so I'm hearing that a lot now, just like, with my work with Bean Ninjas, a lot of our team members are actually mothers and they have the flexibility of lifestyle and the hours that you mentioned. So that's wonderful. So what would you say was a major turning point, Brynne, with just your career, or would you say that shifting from the partnership into a solo business, or was there somewhere else along your career journey that really was a major light bulb for you?
That's the biggest one. And then once I launched my company, I had a few other opportunities. So I worked as a chief learning officer for a short period of time for a company called People Links, which was a social selling software. And I created all of the video content and learning. I mapped out all the learning modules, and it was very, very cool. They got sold to a company, and I rolled back into my own business independently. But I had a lot of these great experiences, and I had a few other experiences like that along the way where it just elevated my game, right? Like it brought other clients to the table that I wouldn't have had, huge Fortune 100 clients that I got to work with directly to build out curriculum. And so all of these little experiences, so I had a lot of these mini explosion moments. So I think, the first one is I left sales training to be a LinkedIn sales trainer. And then after that, they're just like, and even bringing on a particular client, and then I launch custom to them a whole new deliverable. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is an offering that could go anywhere, everywhere, right? So I would say that I probably had a dozen moments in 6 years or 12 years, probably 10 or 12 years, had a dozen of these moments of magic.
So when you were launching what is Social Sales Link, can you take us back to your initial clients and how you were able to get those clients? And was LinkedIn involved in that process, or was it?
Yeah. And that's when I realized that I needed to go off from traditional sales training, because we were teaching people how to cold call, and I was getting my business through LinkedIn. And I said, why am I teaching someone to do something when I'm growing my business differently? And how I teach LinkedIn is around social proximity. It's about who in my network can I leverage to gain access to decision makers, and reverse, who can I help get in the door as well? It's about identifying key accounts and, kind of mapping out pathways into those key accounts by using LinkedIn, and strategically connecting and engaging with my network in a way that I can help them and they can help me. So, for example, I had a client that loved me. Fabulous. I'm going to go mine his connections and identify 8 people that he knows that I want to meet and do for them what I did for him. And so I bring that list and I'd say, okay, here are the 8 people that you know. Who on this list, do you think I could help? And 8 became 4. And then he'd either make an introduction for me or give me permission to drop his name as a client. We did this with strategic partnerships like other vendors. So for me, sales trainers are great because they can refer me and I can refer them. Marketers, believe it or not, website builders are amazing referral partners back and forth, right? HubSpot, I have one of my best partners is a HubSpot shop. And we can refer business all day long because our clients need both of us. So I'm doing this and teaching something else and realize, well, this is silly. Let me start teaching this. So, I really launched my business through warm referrals and finding partnerships and leveraging my network to get in front of folks. Now, I also did a webinar a week and would invite all of my prospects through LinkedIn to join in a powerful webinar. And I'd get, at the time, they weren't saturated like they are now necessarily. Yeah. And I'd get 80 to 100 people to show up on a webinar, and people were just learning about LinkedIn. And so I very quickly became a thought leader in the space because I was late to getting on LinkedIn, but I was early to market to teaching it for sales. And so I grew my business through that way. And my first major account was an account called Aramark. And they're a very large facilities management, food management type company. They do like all the sports arenas and prisons and you name it, they do, right? Like they're huge. And they put out something on LinkedIn. Nicole Bradley worked for them, and she put something out on LinkedIn saying, we're looking for LinkedIn training. Who would you recommend? And a whole bunch of people recommended me. I reached out, and she said at the time, she's like, you're too small. We're Aramark. We need a company to do this. So I noticed she was connected to Kim Richmond, who was someone she was a marketing professor at Rutgers, and I taught one class a semester for her. And I said, how do you know Nicole? She said, she's my student. I said, can you put in a good word? She actually took her to lunch and said, you've got to talk to Brynne. So they brought me in kind of like, okay, just because Kim said it, I'm bringing Brynne. And then they handed me, after an hour and a half, they handed me the Challenger book. It's now Gartner CEB, but the Challenger sale. And so we just went through this training. We said, what do we do now? And they said, get some LinkedIn training. And that's why we were looking. Here's the book. Can you go build us a curriculum around it? And that was it. So again, using social proximity, I was able to get Aramark, and they were my client for years and years.
That's incredible. I love it. Well done. And for those listening to this, like I really hope you're paying attention, because the power of social proximity is just surpasses anything else. Like people who are running Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads and these sort of things, but it still comes back to word of mouth and people, your reputation, and people, we're calling it personal branding these days, but it's still, what's your reputation and how do people perceive you, right? And then how do you deliver on your promises? So I love what we've jumped into here, Brynne. We're going to wrap this up now for the podcast. You will be talking about how to generate more sales appointments in LinkedIn on the summit. So why do you think that's an important topic right now for remote businesses? Well,
first of all, as a remote business, depending on what time zone you're selling into, if you call, you have a very limited time, right? But LinkedIn is 24/7. So you can do it on your time zone. You can reach out and you can prospect on your time zone. And then for me, like I sit at night with the TV on and my laptop on my lap, and I do all of my work with, sports going on in the background. The value of a remote business aligns with the value of doing business on LinkedIn. You have all that flexibility.
Love it. So make sure you tune into the summit. And I want you to finish this sentence, Brynne. It's not about LinkedIn. It's really about what?
The value you bring to your network.
Oh, so good. I'm loving it. And you're going to be giving away one prize on the summit as well. What would that be for people who attend?
I think I'm giving a LinkedIn makeover.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, what does that?
Oh, good.
Yeah. What does that entail? So what do you mean by LinkedIn makeover?
Yeah, so we will go through your entire profile and revamp it to move it from a resume to a resource so that you can attract, teach, and engage your targeted buyers.
Amazing. All right. So if you are serious about getting stuff done on LinkedIn, you do need to have a professional like Brynne look at your profile, just like you would get a makeover before you go to a wonderful night party or something like that. Brynne will do that for your LinkedIn before you jump into bed with your potential clients and partners. So if you want to find out more about Brynne, you head over to socialsaleslink.com. And then you've also got a book, which is the LinkedIn Sales Playbook, which is at linkedinbook.com. Is that right?
LinkedInbook.info.
.info. Okay, that's not...
LinkedInbook.com might be someone else's.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, so linkedinbook.info. We'll add all those links to the show notes. And of course, you can join myself and Brynne on the summit, which is happening November 18 to 22 at remotebusinesssummit.com. Okay, so Brynne, thank you for joining us today, and we will see you on the summit.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. And remember to live passionately,
purposefully,
and confidently. Till next time, ciao.